Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, episode 2.
We're back. We liked the way the first one went, and we're going to keep doing it. So congrats to us.
Yeah, seriously. Ethan, I don't know. We should definitely be concerned with if the people listening enjoyed the first episode, but considering nobody's heard it yet, I still feel that this is an accomplishment in and of itself that we're here once again.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get a wave of feedback after. I mean, we're hoping to bank, a handful of these before we start putting them out. So most likely we'll get some feedback and we won't be able to make adjustments until, down the road.
Until way
great.
Down the road. So hello from the past. We don't know when we're going to be releasing this, but for posterity's sake, it is Monday, January 18th, 2021. So hello from the past. But today's episode, we're going to talk a little grunge, Ethan. Is that right?
Hell yeah, it is, brother. We're excited to do it.
We absolutely have to. So in the first episode, hopefully you all have listened to it. But we did not really talk a whole lot about some specifics with music. So today, we're going to go back into the archives a little bit. We're going to rewind the clocks in our head and think back to, the first times that we heard, some of these grunge songs and, pick a couple of songs from our personal history and be like, that is when I became a Soundgarden fan, or like, this is the first time I heard a song and I was like, hell yeah, this is what I want to listen to.
Yeah, almost get those, those beginning stories for each band and just what drew us in and how we kind of got down the rabbit hole. Because everybody does when you find out. I mean, when you find out that Temple the Dog was a band that consists of 4 other bands,
absolutely,
incredible.
Yeah.
So,
and I think everybody has those kind of personal, almost inside jokes of like, oh my God, like I just discovered this, or like certainly every song that you listen to, I think has some sort of personal meaning, but everybody's kind of path towards becoming a fan of a certain band or a certain genre. I mean, especially in this case, because all of the Seattle bands are seemingly so intermingled. I mean, just like what you said with Temple the Dog, or like when you find out what Mad Season was, and it's like, oh, like Mike McCready and Lane Staley were in a band, and Barrett Martin from the Trees was in there, and there's just everything going on there. So the Seattle music scene, the grunge scene, if you would like to call it that, certainly has a lot of those kind of interminglings in, but I think we can go back and forth. If the first overall selection, which band would you like to start with?
I am going to start with a classic that, I think that everybody has watched. It's a music video. It's a song, obviously, but it has a music video that might be the most popular music video for the 4, I would say. Can you guess what music video I'm gonna say?
It's gotta be Black Hole Sun, right?
It is, exactly.
It is, absolutely.
It is exactly Black Hole Sun by Soundgarden, and I would say that it's obviously it was their highest played radio song. And, some of the alternative stations play it, let alone the classic rock stations. So it's one of the songs like Smells Like Teen Spirit and Daughter kind of slip into the other, the other radio stations that don't always play rock. So that song, when I was younger, I heard that one, often. And I remember when YouTube, like right when we were getting into all this stuff, YouTube was where you searched your music. You didn't search. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you didn't necessarily search Spotify because that probably came around, 2011. So I remember watching it. I think I was like, I don't know, I probably was a teenager, probably like 14 years old or something. And I think I actually was a little bit scared watching the music video.
Absolutely. And let me just take a second.
We had a moment with this.
We
Chris.
Certainly did. But real quick, everyone who's listening to this right now, I guarantee you're hearing us talk about this, and I bet you can think back to the first time that you saw this music video, because it's just, especially like what you were saying, like you see it for the first time when you're like 12 or 13, like you're fairly impressionable at that point. And like this thing is completely off the rails and psychedelic and everything. But yes, I believe we did have like a collective viewing of this.
Yeah, we I think I believe that I had just watched it or something, and I was like, Chris, have you seen this? And I can't remember what you said, but I was like, we need to watch this together. And it was actually, we used to lift weights at around like 6 o'clock in the morning when we were at the University of Pittsburgh together, and we were waiting to warm up. It was like literally like 5:45. Maybe it was after weights, but it was like 5:45. And we were already into it. And I was like, hey, we got to watch this real quick. And I remember watching it. We were using headphones and we were splitting it. Like I had one earbud, you had the other.
Yep.
And we watched this, and it was like, you know, the screen was basically melting in front of us. And it was like, I mean, it was just, you get the same reaction every time. I was blown away. I loved it. I hated it. I remember looking it up, and there was like no good explanation to it, you know, because anytime you watch those things, like I need to know why, and there's no good reason. And even like I think Chris Cornell has came out and talked about the song as being pretty like ambivalent or just kind of random, right? There's the music video is the same way.
Definitely. And Chris Cornell throughout his life, he was pretty consistent with the fact that he would never really go into a whole lot of detail about what his songs were about. And, you know, Black Hole Sun, especially that music video, is just, you listen to the song and certainly it's such a unique song with the way the guitars sound and everything to it. But then when you watch that music video,
and maybe off the rails. If we get really creative, maybe we'll have, ask Drew to put a little clip in right here, and he can, we could watch some of it.
Seriously, but that's the great part about it, though. It's so iconic that everybody who's listening right now can close their eyes, or maybe it's scarred them so much they don't even have to close their eyes and they can see the music video in their heads.
I'd like to see, like I said, I don't know what grunge music video comes to your head, but that's probably the most produced music video. Like, I mean, other ones are kind of live stuff.
I can think about maybe like the heart-shaped box video from Nirvana, or obviously the second Jeremy video, which got a lot of play, is kind of two that come to my mind, as well as I Stay Away from Alice in Chains. That's a great music video with the claymation.
So 10 years ago, Soundgarden put the music video on YouTube. Yes, guess how many views?
I don't know, like 150 million.
Close, 175 million.
You can tell I spend too much time on YouTube.
I bet if I clicked on here, I'd find a comment from you a couple years back.
Seriously, I'm in there quite a bit.
So that kind of that was definitely the one that sparked my interest as far as searching more online for Soundgarden and kind of seeing where that took me. So I'd say Black Hole Sun. It's kind of cliche, but it's the truth.
Yeah, for sure. I think for me, definitely Black Hole Sun was the first Soundgarden song that I had heard, because by the time that we grew up and were actively listening to radio, that was damn near the only Soundgarden song that would be played on your normal, you know, classic rock radio station. But I remember, I don't know why, I don't know how, the next Soundgarden song that I definitely remember listening to and liking was Pretty Noose from Down on the Upside. So the last album that they made in the 90s before they broke up until they got back together, you know, 15 years later. And I don't know what it was about it. Just kind of similar to Black Hole Sun. Like, it just sounded different. I mean, the guys in Soundgarden were so talented, and their ability to just make their guitars and just everything sound just like a little different was definitely what drew me. And I remember listening to that, and, you know, back in the day, I purchased it on iTunes, and I was like, this is a song that I would like to own. And I used to listen to it prior to playing football in high school and before track meets in high school. So that made the a young developing Chris Salona's pre-game playlist. It was a staple there.
Oh, that's amazing. So you listened to hard rock before football games like that?
Yeah, I used to. Yeah, I mean, at that time, all of your usual suspects were in there because once you're I mean, there was obviously going to be a lot of AC/DC, Back in Black, all that stuff. I think a couple, Plush was obviously going to be in there. I think Alive was probably in there, just because it's standard issue for something like that. So I could probably go back and find it, and it'd be good for a good laugh nowadays. But yeah, Soundgarden, that's I think most people probably, if they experienced the era after the fact like us, it's probably got to be Black Hole Sun, in terms of what got them into it. So,
but then once you get into it, I mean,
you go down the rabbit hole real quickly.
Just front to back. I think you might have posted something the other day actually that talked about how good every Soundgarden album is front to back.
Oh my gosh, yeah, and especially too, like,
and it's so true.
Yeah, and when Super Unknown broke, and Black Hole Sun is certainly the most enduring one, but my favorite Soundgarden album is always going to be Bad Motorfinger.
Yeah.
I mean, there is not a song on there that doesn't get my blood pumping.
Yeah, each song hits one after another. And I remember when you were, I think it was like 3 years ago, 2018, because I remember like when we were actually, we'll get into it later, we were really hammering the Lollapalooza and Pink Pop videos.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And I know I have a ton of those videos of Chris and the guys saved up because it's just
some of the best stuff of the era.
Yeah, I always think of that album live.
For sure.
Anyway.
All right. Let's see. So you picked Soundgarden. We're gonna get into a little bit of Alice in Chains now. So I'll share first. So my song for Alice in Chains that got me into them is not Wood. So I apologize to everybody. It's certainly the most significant song because I think at this point it has to be the most significant song, and we'll get into the whole Wood thing.
Yeah, they want that to be our intro song.
Yes, I don't think they will license that to us, unfortunately. So just if you guys want Wood to be the intro song, I guess just start direct messaging Jerry and just
follow Jerry.
Follow Jerry Cantrell and get him to get his label to give us permission. But anyways, I think for me, I'm thinking about the songs that I heard on the radio. You hear Rooster, you hear Man in the Box, but I don't want to give those the title just because those were the things that I heard. I think the first one that I sought out, and once again, it's kind of tied to a music video, and I just referenced it, was I Stay Away. That music video, the claymation and everything, and just the lyrics. This was another one actually that was on the it was on the high school athletics playlist.
That's incredible.
It just once again, I think the one commonality, I was just drawn to things that sounded a little different. And the guitar intro right there, and Lane's vocals going into that, in that first verse and just throughout are weirdly haunting, as most of Jar of Flies is, obviously.
Right.
It's got to be I Stay Away for me. It just sounded different and it caught my attention, just that acoustic guitar at the beginning. And then when Lane came in and the way that they layered his different vocal tracks on there, I was in from that moment moving forward. And it actually took me a little longer to come around to, a song like Rooster, for example, just because I didn't, I don't think either of us, we weren't really on board with it. It wasn't for us at that point.
Yeah, that one definitely was the radio play that was overdone, just like, Even Flow, Alive, or Smells Like Teen Spirit, the ones that you're going to get that are on the radio for a reason, that they're really great, but for some reason you can develop a tolerance for them in a bad way.
You can reach your fill after a little while. So what's your Alice in Chains song?
So Alice in Chains, I would say that the biggest connection I have and the biggest exploration I've had with them was throughout, and we talk about this often, is through the Toil. For the listeners, the Toil is working with your hands, working outside, and just hard work. And it's actually a lot of where the wood jokes came from, Into the Flood again. Chris and I, we went through years where we would work outside, and I worked with a mason, Andy Engelman, and he is an awesome mason.
Andy.
And yes, and he is one of the biggest Alice in Chains fans I ever met. He's a guitarist, and we played music together, and he loves Jerry and absolutely, adores the era. And he's always been somebody that I like to talk to about it. We've always worked together, and I play music on the radio. And it's funny because Chris, you never worked with us, but like,
right.
We always, he's always was in our conversations about 100%. This stuff. And it's because Chris would work he was working a job at parallel trains, as we like to say. He was working a job and we were working it simultaneously, and we
there was that one summer where we were both. Yep. I was working a construction job and you were working with Andy, and it was always Into the Flood again, and then the lyric from No Excuses, hands are bruised from breaking rocks all day. And certainly that, I think that was meant to have a little bit of a different meaning, obviously, than manual labor. But that's the best part. Like, we took that and we're like, this is what it means to us. And I felt like every single day, one of those lyrics was making an appearance in our text conversations.
Yes, absolutely. So my song, I think it has to be Nutshell.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of it's because I think it's the first one that I was able to like have a really good conversation about Jar of Flies and about Jerry and his ability to write and
Lane's lyrics
and Lane's lyrics. And so I just had we just talked about so I mean it's Nutshell because that easily had the most. When I listened to that in a dark room, that's going to be the one that affects me the most. And I think that something I really enjoy being for no other reason, just affected by a song. And, but yeah, I think that summer, and it's kind of, I would say it's kind of cheap, but the whole album of Jar of Flies, I just think is definitely the stuff that I've listened to the most, even though, and then of course, like we listened to a lot of Dirt. It's a little heavier because we're outside and whatnot, but I know that you have similar feelings on.
Oh yeah, and I will definitely give you a pass to put the whole Jar of Flies album down. And just speaking about Nutshell, it is such a poignant kind of account or description of addiction, mental illness, everything that goes into that. And I think going back, that's probably one of the first songs that I listened to that really kind of made me aware of, everything that maybe Lane was going through at the time. And really, furthermore, just the ability for music to be an expressive outlet to talk about things like that, and any form of art, any form of music, and just how vulnerable you can be through it. I mean, we all know the lyrics and we all know what that song's about. And it's just, it's one of those songs that I think the first time you listen to it and you really hear what it's saying and listen to the lyrics and listen to how it sounds, you restart the song and you listen again because it just stops you.
Yeah. And as silly as it sounds, because we didn't live through the era, we had to learn that Lane Staley died.
Yeah. Right.
And we had to learn about these things. And I remember once you learn that information and then listen to it again, it was such a journey, and like I said, we didn't live through it. So it's a weird how you rather than living through history, you go back and learn it, and then how you're still affected. And I think that we had a lot of conversations during these times, like during the exploration phase of the genre that were great. And like you said, we were able to really, I think, dive, as deep as we could into the songs and how it affected us. And Definitely. It was great. And that'll always be my favorite song by them, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. I can certainly see why it is, but that's actually a really good point. And I think anybody who's our age, or anybody period, if you're listening to music from the past, it's definitely happened to you before. And I know we've had conversations where you find a song that you like by an artist that you like, and you search more and you're like, wow, this person is really talented. They're really great. And then 10 minutes later, when you're looking them up just to learn more about them, you find out that they've passed away. I remember that happened to me, not recently, but I remember very strongly when I started getting to Elliott Smith, for example, and to find out that he had passed away. And
Nick Drake. I remember when we first listened to Nick.
Yeah, he's really important to us.
Yeah. Those two artists I really love listening to. And it is a weird thing when you find an artist and you look them up and something tragic like that happened.
Yeah, it's really sad. But yeah, jar of flies. That's a heavy one. But
Yeah,
let's
I think we might have talked about in the first one how we alluded to how we attempted to break down the album.
definitely.
And
Did
we had
not get very far.
We had a difficult time. That's when we decided that that's for somebody else to do.
Yeah, we were going to shift
us.
change a little bit, so we'll keep it rolling here. So it is your selection now. So of the big four Seattle bands that people complain that we post too much of, and also complain that we don't post enough of them. So I don't know which one's right, but we've got Pearl Jam still on the board, and we have Nirvana still on the board. So Ethan, what's your pick?
Well, before I want to one word answer. Do you think that we post them too often or too little?
Too often.
Okay. All right. And for my song, next one, I'm going to go with a little different, but I'm going to go with Lounge Act by Nirvana.
Oh, okay. All right.
So this song was another one that I kind of discovered with on the job with Andy.
Yeah.
And the reason I really enjoyed this, because when you think of Nirvana, obviously Smells Like Teen Spirit comes up, but then also a lot of like punk and a lot of like really hard to decipher lyrics. And I remember like people didn't like it because they couldn't understand it. Like my dad, who was like a classic rock guy. But Lounge Act had this kind of cadence to it and this kind of like this really groovy bass line. And it was so different than the stuff that I kind of viewed Nirvana as. And I just was like, oh man, like this is like such a groove of a song.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of Novoselic's, like, it's one of my favorite stuff. I think I posted just the bass line to that song.
I remember when you did that.
and people so liked it.
But the people that song
the bassist,
the same way that it affected you, their comments, they were like, thank you so much for doing this is such tremendous work. And I mean, that's the power of music right there, but that's a real good choice.
Yeah. So I remember like, I just listened to it and just being like, wow, like, didn't really, maybe I need to listen to Nirvana a little bit deeper. Yeah. There's some things that I need to get more involved in. We ended up, I was in a band all through high school and a little bit after, and play with a bunch of people. And we, me and, like I said, my boss, Andy, we played this at a show one time. Yeah. And it was just such a great time. It was so much fun. The bassist was having it's just like it was such a great jam. So I really appreciate that song. And I just think it's, like I said, a little bit different from what you usually think of for Nirvana. So definitely. It's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made a good point too, talking about how, maybe Nirvana and a lot of these bands may not be as palatable to people because it's like, I can't even hear what they're saying. Can you think about, so once again, as we said in the first episode, and as we said earlier today, we didn't grow up during this. So we grew up, with having an internet connection in our home and having, it wasn't long until we got smartphones and laptops, computers, all that stuff. I mean, now if I'm listening to a song, I habitually will look up the lyrics and read along. Can you imagine back then, like listening on the radio? You don't know what the hell they're saying. You have to track down the liner notes in a hard copy of an album, which some people don't know exist anymore. Or we're just so spoiled. And even people that lived through that, I'd be interested for people who lived through that, whether you prefer how it used to be in the sense that you couldn't just look up the lyrics, or you couldn't just find it online and stream it. You kind of had to find a physical copy or wait for it to come around the radio. I imagine there's probably a little bit of nostalgia with that too. Is like, oh, I miss the old days. But I mean, I'm certainly grateful to be growing up in the era where I've grown up, that all of this is accessible to me, because it makes it so much easier and so much more exciting to be a fan, because everything is right at my fingertips.
Yeah. Just a quick little tidbit since you brought it up. Yeah. And I was talking to my current boss, Brian, and he had just recommended a Frank Zappa documentary. It's called Zappa, and it just came out. And he was just telling me a little bit about it. It just came out. It's on like some weird streaming devices. Well, it's on like Amazon Prime and Plush. It's not on the big ones that you probably have, but it. He said that Frank, he was kind of the lead charge of like getting past censorship.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of pioneered the idea of putting lyrics on the back of like your album art, so you could like open up the album and read the lyrics and stuff.
Oh,
So it would
yeah.
be like more transparent. I guess like I haven't watched it yet, but I guess he was like kind of he made his own record label and like, you know, had all the power with himself. So I'm excited to watch that. But
I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah,
I did not know that.
And
that's really cool.
he's just an incredible musician. That I'm excited to watch that documentary because
definitely just as a fan, you know.
Sure. So, all right, mine's Lounge Act, Nirvana. Right. I know you love Nirvana,
yes,
so let's hear it.
I have a confession to make, Ethan. You already know what I'm about to say. I'm probably going to get voted off to some desert island or something bad is going to happen to me for what I'm about to say.
I think you'll be all right.
I don't absolutely love Nirvana. Okay, I said it. I don't know why. I really don't know why. I just have never been able to get into Nirvana as deeply as I've been able to get into some of the other bands from the era and from the geographical area and from the genre. But before you pick up the old pitchforks and the torches and all that stuff, like I do like Nirvana. They're amazing. They're so innovative and they were so important. And Kurt Cobain as a human being and just, you know, what he brought to the table and his ability to express and kind of be the mouthpiece for a lot of people who didn't really know how to explain what they were saying. They're amazing, but out of the big four, they're definitely number 4 for me. So I apologize if that ruins your day, but if you're
there's a ton of debates that could be surrounded them and opinions around it. So
exactly.
You're not alone. You know? No, you're not alone in it, and it's all good.
Yeah. So, but with that being said, the first Nirvana song that I heard, it was Teen Spirit. You know, I don't know if you've heard of that one, but I remember pretty specifically. I was in 7th grade, so this would have been, I don't know when I was in 7th grade. 2008 maybe. I don't know, 2007, something like that. So I don't really know what I was listening to. Like Green Day was big at the time, so we were listening to a lot of that. Some of my friends were just starting to get into classic rock. I remember for some reason, one of my friends was oddly into Black Sabbath at the time, which I don't know if 13-year-olds get into Black Sabbath, but this kid was. And I remember one time, I don't know why or how, but my friend showed me a video that had the little snippet, like the first 10 or 15 seconds of Smells Like Teen Spirit with the guitar. I heard that. I was like, wow, that sounds pretty cool. Like I need to find more about that. And then I found the song, Smells Like Teen Spirit. I listened to it and I was like, okay, I am a fan of this band, you know? And I think that was probably the first point that I was cognizant of Nirvana. And once you know who Nirvana was, I mean, they're inescapable. I mean, the smiley face logo, the Smells Like Teen Spirit, Kurt Cobain. I mean, all of that stuff. But yeah, my answer is the boring one, Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Love it. One of my
absolutely
one of my first early memories with that song was there's a it was probably, it might have been same time frame, like I don't know, 2007 or something like that, a little bit earlier.
The mid-aughts, yeah.
But my family, my dad was like weirdly into Weird Al Yankovic.
Oh my gosh.
And he did a parody for Smells Like Teen Spirit, and I'm actually blanking on what the
I know exactly where, because didn't he spoof the music video too? He parodied the music video and everything.
And Weird Al was a huge like visual guy, and he would do these awesome music videos. And absolutely hilarious music video.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that I am blanking on what
we're blanking. I know exactly what you're talking about because people can probably relate to this. I bet you can too. Just when you're discovering music, inevitably you'll run into a Weird Al cover, if you want to call it that, of a song that you're looking for.
The song was Smells Like Nirvana. That's what it was. So he just, and it was really funny because he was just like, da, 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 and I don't know what I'm saying. Like he just.
Which, if you think about it, was probably not that much unlike what a lot of people were hearing on the radio. Like, I don't
Exactly.
know what
So
these lyrics mean. I don't know. I can't hear anything he's saying. So there you go. Maybe it was probably, I mean, some could say that it was the most accurate Teen Spirit cover of all time at that rate. So
yeah,
once again, sorry, Nirvana heresy. I'm going to get voted off, but
yeah.
yeah. All right. So that leaves us Pearl
To
Jam for the big four. So the final entry. And once again, full disclosure, Pearl Jam is absolutely my favorite of the big four Seattle bands. So
yeah,
that just needed to be said.
yeah. Letting out the opinion on
Oh yeah,
the order. I mean, people
the
know.
gloves
People
are
know.
coming off.
People now know that Nirvana is at the bottom and
Yeah.
Pearl Jam's at the top. So you can put the
later
two in
on,
between.
maybe we'll have to. Yeah, absolutely.
Figure it out.
But if y'all have been paying enough attention to the page the last few years, you probably know, because at some point I guarantee you I've ranked my favorites, but they're just my favorites because it's impossible to say who's actually the best, obviously, and anybody who is going to waste time doing that is stupid.
Yeah, and a lot of that comes. A lot of the ranking or however you put it comes up when you listen to it and how you first consume the music. So
Definitely.
It's pretty deep. But so favorite band. Let's hear your song then.
All right. So I think you're gonna know. You're gonna know it as soon as I say it. But the first Pearl Jam song that I really
this could go any which way. Now that I'm thinking about it, this could be
in a lot of different directions. Yeah, you're right. So you're probably not gonna know, but it'll make sense. So obviously, you hear Even Flow, you hear Eddie Vedder, you hear Alive, you hear, just as often as you hear that, you hear people making fun of it. Obviously, it's particularly Even Flow. And there was a kid that I went to high school with who randomly used to break out into his Eddie Vedder impersonation of Even Flow, where you can't even hear what he's saying in the beginning. But anyways, I was casually interested in that at the time. Pearl Jam, not this kid's interpretations of Pearl Jam. And I don't know how I came across it, because it's not one of the songs that you would see first on the list of, most popular songs or greatest hits or whatever. But the song that I listened to when I was like, this is the shit. Like this is, I need more of this in my life, was Dissident.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Dissident. And we definitely have a joke going on that opening guitar riff to Dissident. It is saved.
If that doesn't bring a smile directly to your face, then I don't understand. You're not a Pearl Jam fan, and you don't enjoy life.
It's just absolutely righteous. And that whole track, I mean, Ed's vocals are completely on point. Dave Abruzzese on the drum. Dave A.
We love Dave.
We love all Pearl Jam drummers, but obviously Dave was amazing. And that song is just so great. The studio recording is great. Any live performance from like the 1993, 94-ish era before Dave left the band is just top notch. That was definitely the song. I don't even know how I came across it, but it was another one that I had downloaded off of iTunes, and it was probably on every single playlist that I made at the time on my phone. And that was just, I was like, it just sounded like amazing music to me. I don't know. That's probably a really shitty explanation, but you understand. It was Dissident.
Yeah. That's incredible. That's a great one. And I could use that one if I wanted to, but the song that I'm going to say that really got me into Pearl Jam and just kind of, I think, had the most conversation around it in the beginning, and similar conversation that we've had together. But it has to be a song that at first, like you said, rubbed me the wrong way, and I had to come around to it, and I had to learn the backstory about it, and now I love it. And it's Jeremy.
Oh, Jeremy, really?
I think so. Yeah. So Jeremy, like, I remember like I remember like enjoying it, but it got really heavily played on by the station that I listened to. And I remember there was just, I don't know, there was just some buzz around it that I think my dad particularly would make fun of Eddie Vedder as well. And Kurt Cobain. Yeah. So they would kind of like make fun of it, and I had to kind of get past that as a young boy, kind of like wanting to like these bands. And it was also the song that it was like the first song that I learned that Pearl Jam like would cursed, and that they use the F word.
Harmless little fuck, right?
Harmless little fuck. And like I remember watching like a few videos, and I remember being totally thrown off. And I was like, oh man, I didn't know they cursed. It was such a weird, because I was just super young and
right, and you don't even really hear those words, when you're really little.
And then of course, like as I kind of like learned about the story behind it, and
probably when you saw the music video too.
Music video, and it definitely obviously grew on me. And then the second half of the song, the instrument, the kind of the ambiance that it creates, and kind of what after kind of like the first few verses, I think is an extremely well put together. It's a well put together song, and it's
another song with
really
a great bass line from Jeff and Man. That's a really, really solid one. So yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, simply put, it was just one of the first songs that just kind of had this beautiful like growing relationship with me that I just appreciate a lot. So I can always listen to that song.
Definitely, yeah. And that song, there's so much emotion put into it. And Eddie Vedder has a really good quote. Some interview sometime, somebody asked him about performing and everything, and he kind of was talking about how when he performs, you can't mail it in, and you have to draw back to that emotion. And he said, he's like, if you get up on stage and you try to airmail Jeremy, and people are going to know, for example, and it's just it has such ferocity to it. And I mean, that whole album, the whole 10 album, I mean, any single song on there you could look at and be, oh yeah, this is so well put together.
Yeah. Yeah. The 10 album, probably, if we ever go back, and we can do an episode on ranking the albums, or what albums are favorite by each
our
album.
Favorites and
that's a good one.
Yeah. It was funny. I thought for a second, that your Pearl Jam choice was going to be Red Mosquito. If I had known then what I know now.
Yes. Yeah.
That one came a little later on though.
Yeah. That one was a little bit later, but I thought maybe you were going to use that one as well, actually. Yeah. Or Porch. I was thinking that because you almost got that tattooed on your body.
I almost did. Yeah. I opted for something else, but yeah. That's I mean, there's just so many, even like Hard to Imagine, for example. But a lot of my Pearl Jam songs that I'd consider to be my favorites definitely came along.
Hard Sun could be an honorable mention for me.
Yeah, although unfortunately, I don't know if some of the listeners do know this or not, but Eddie Vedder didn't write it.
True.
Covered it. So in case you didn't know, the original writer is escaping me, but go listen to the original version if you're listening to this and you haven't heard it, just to do your due diligence and to hear. But no, Ed's version's great. The whole Into the Wild film, that whole soundtrack is just really great. Big fans of the Ed here.
So let's I think that wraps up the big four. I think we got a few honorable mentions that we'll touch on quickly. I'm assuming we definitely knocked out a good episode here. So let's get a few final songs in, a few words, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right.
So another one, I think we should talk about STP real quick. Think about your Stone Temple Pilots.
Scott?
What about Scott? Oh yeah. If we in the beginning we definitely were like doing our best to just post the big four. We thought that was right, and people were asking, what about Scott? What about Scott? And they were the first, obviously, like they're the fifth one in most conversations.
Yeah.
What about Scott?
Yeah. The amount of times that we've gotten that comment on our posts.
It might be the highest.
Oh yeah,
we got a few good ones, a few good reoccurring comments, but that one definitely comes back.
That one's right up there with people commenting, "Oh, this isn't grunge."
Isn't grunge? Yeah.
Yeah, that's another great one. But all right, so Stone Temple Pilots.
It's a lock for me. You already know, but
the undisputed champion.
The undisputed champion. It's Plush. It's Plush every day of the week. Acoustic. it's live, like acoustic live. Everything that you can. Any way that they can play it. It's one of those songs. It's one of the first songs that I learned about, or I learned to play from the genre. Oh, yeah. It was a song that our band would play at every show, basically. Like I said, acoustic or live. I used to play a djembe, and we would play it at school. We played around. So just one of those songs that we played all the time. And it was a safe haven. Like if we didn't know what to play or what song to play, we would always come back and play that because we could play it pretty well.
It's like the button emoji. It's like, I don't know what to do. Plush.
Yeah. Yep. And our singer, he sang it particularly good. And it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
And it was pretty easy to play. So we loved it.
Absolutely. And
if you remember, we, because I've showed you the award before, but we won some like a talent show basically at the high school, like our 11th grade year. And it was for best alternative performance or like music performance. And it was Plush, and it says it, and it's pretty awesome.
Oh yeah. There were zero doubts that you guys were bringing that home once whoever the guitarist was broke into that first riff. That's amazing. Oh, yeah. I think for my STP, I mean, for sure, Plush was the first Stone Temple Pilots song, that I had heard. Fun fact, a little bit of a tangent here. So, I don't know if anyone is into sports, but Ethan, you're going to laugh once I mention this name. Bronson Arroyo was a baseball player for the Red Sox in the early 2000s. And right after they won the World Series in 2004, he put out a cover album.
Yes.
All covers. It had Pearl Jam on it. It had Temple of the Dog, Foo Fighters, STP. It was just like a greatest hits album. And he covered Plush. And I remember listening to that as like an 8-year-old because it was Bronson Arroyo and I was a big baseball fan. I remember listening to that and that was great. But in terms of the band proper, because unfortunately I don't think Bronson counts. I think it would be Wicked Garden, kind of a weird dark horse, but that song, I remember listening to it and it was just so unbelievably heavy and just loud. And that was definitely the one for me. Once again, another one that was on the on the young pump up playlist from way back in the day. But I would say Wicked Garden. But the Stone Temple Pilots, that's definitely a band that I think a lot of people write off just because they're like, oh, Plush was an impersonation of Pearl Jam, which I think is BS. But and that led me to move on, deeper into their catalog and discover
Big
songs
Empty.
like Big Empty, which is for sure, I think that's my favorite STP song, that or maybe Still Remains or
Sour
Atlanta.
Girls.
There's Sour Girl. There's song. They were so versatile.
Atlanta and Sour Girl, those two have some great performances.
I mean, for a band to write Wicked Garden and then to write Atlanta, 6 or 7 years later or however long it was, I mean, that's versatility. And people were trying to portray them as being a one-trick pony in the early 90s after Core came out. I mean, that's a complete miscategorization when a band can come out with something like Atlanta. And it's just incredible. I have one more kind of bonus round song for me that I listened to, and I think the listeners will appreciate this. I think you will as well. The first song of this band that I heard, and I was like, this is going to be really important. You Got It, Keep It Out of My Face by Mudhoney, the only grunge band in the entire
only real
universe.
Band.
Yeah.
There's only one grunge band.
There's only one, and it's Mudhoney. Yeah. And as far as I'm concerned, this is the greatest Mudhoney song. I don't care. Your opinion is wrong. Mine is correct.
You could even rearrange that and say this is the greatest song.
Oh yeah, greatest composition. Like anything else that's ever been written, it can't hold a candle to this. I mean,
that is my favorite grunge song ever.
It's my favorite
That's a good
song
one.
ever. It's great. And I know we've gone back and forth. I mean, the lyrics are just so great. You think just because you've got it, you think everyone wants you. Well, guess what? I don't want it. Keep it out of my face. And there's so many. It's so
the amount of times that you would text
in life.
The amount of times you texted me that.
Oh yeah. I mean, when it comes to,
you think I want it?
Yeah. Keep it out of my face. And just Mark Arm just screaming and everybody just going nuts. Yeah, that one's great. That's good. Yeah, that's certainly one for me. Do you have any other dark horses or outside of the big four? Or
I do. I have a few that I want to bring up, and you're gonna love this one. But got a shout out to one of my favorite bands of the era, Dinosaur Jr. Feel the Pain.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a
we
winner.
love that song. I love Jay Mascis on the guitar, and it's just for some reason. And when I was first recommended them, I listened to them a lot. I love the voice. I love the guitar, and as you know, we love that song. I feel the
Yeah.
pain of everyone, and now I feel nothing.
And I feel absolutely nothing. And if you're Ethan, I think both of us are um, tend to be people pleasers and helpers and empathetic people to a fault. And that lyric has
Yeah,
always hit home. It's like, yeah, like I've taken on everybody else's pain, and then at the end of the day, there's no kind of come down from it easily. It's like, nope, there's just nothing there. And then you got to
yep.
recharge and go into hiding a little bit.
And the song has this really kind of mellow and just kind of methodic, and I think it's like the I feel nothing, like it's
Yeah.
just like that song that just kind of goes, and
Then a little
it's great.
uptick,
And then it just
that
and then it goes up, and then it just back
it comes
down. I
right
love
back
that.
down to that guitar riff. Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah,
It's good.
there's so much good music.
Another one I want to bring up that I really love, one of my favorite guitar solos in probably, I don't know, just in the era and the type of guitar solos you get is Backwater by the
Oh
Meat
my
Puppets.
gosh! Yes, yes.
Oh, dude. I love that
Brothers
song.
Meet.
Yeah, exactly. Just something about it. It's just so good. I just love the guitar in that song, and it's just such a fun song for me.
Yeah, that's a great one. I think one more bonus round for me. I think if you guys have been following the page, particularly over the last, 9 to 12 months, you'll notice that we/I, but mostly me, have quite the affinity for Mark Lanigan and the Screaming Trees and anything that Mark has done. So Dollar Bill by the Screaming Trees is definitely on that list. I remember hearing that one for the first time, and I think it has been in my top five songs on my Spotify year in review for like 3 or 4 years in a row. It's a song that has cracked the code for me in the sense that it is impossible for me to get tired of it. Which is pretty rare. I mean,
Right.
I get tired of most things after a while. Something that did it for me before is not going to do it for me forever. In a lot of areas, but yeah, Dollar Bill has, I don't know what it is. That's just a fantastic song. So that'd be another one that the minute I listened to it, I was like, I am a fan. I'm declaring myself a fan of this band, of these individuals, and anything that they have ever done or will do.
Yeah. That's a great. I was kind of my guess when you brought up Lanigan. I knew you were gonna
Gotta be Dollar Bill. That's just a fantastic song.
And I think the last one that I want to bring up is Hunger Strike.
Strike.
I think that's one of the probably the most sent back and forth song between you and I. Definitely back in 2016 when we were just hammering away.
Mm-hmm. And that is also that song is also one of, if not the greatest songs to drunkenly duet with somebody who might like grunge rock.
Yes.
Somebody take Vedder, somebody take Cornell, whether you're actually able to or not, it does not matter. You just belt it out. Yeah, that song's a great one. Certainly one that I think is played a lot too. So it's kind of one of those first contact points. And I think going back to what we were talking about at the beginning of the episode, actually, when you put two and two together and realize that Temple of the Dog was essentially Pearl Jam and Soundgarden together, I can't remember if in the beginning, if I thought it was a Pearl Jam song or a sound, whatever, but it was like mind blowing. I was like, oh my gosh.
And then, and I remember having
plutonium,
having to have someone explain it to you, and I had no idea.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is a great one to end on right there. So, I think, as hopefully, if you're still with us, you can definitely think back to these bands and maybe even these same songs and be like, this is what I remember. And these are the songs that I remember listening to that made me a fan of this band, this musician, this genre. So we'd love to hear, drop us a message or leave us a comment on anything that we're posting, some of the songs for you that were those kind of seminal songs that really got you into these bands. Because I think we all have them. We certainly all have
Mm-hmm.
them. And I think they'll stand the test of time. Like 20 years from now, the songs that we just mentioned are still going to be the songs that, we'll recall very fondly.
Yeah, it's always fun discussing why you like a band, and it usually comes down to a song. So I hope that you guys enjoy this episode. It's kind of fun to go back and talk about a few of these songs and a few of these bands more in depth. So good idea, Chris. That was fun.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a blast. So once again, episode 2 is officially in the books, which also coincidentally is exactly 2 more episodes than I ever thought I would make in terms of episodes that I would make for a podcast. So
yeah,
we're breaking down barriers with each and every single episode that we record.
And we might just say that every time we record too.
We probably will. So because one of the times we're going to be right and it will be the last one. So maybe. I don't think it'll be this one. I feel fairly confident that a third episode will be coming in the near future. So if you liked this one, keep your eyes and ears peeled for episode number 3, and we will speak to you then.
Thank you very much, guys. We love you. Rock and roll.
Loud love, rock and roll.